All right, how's everybody doing this morning? Good morning. It's great to be in an auditorium that feels like an auditorium full of friends, and to have a lot of good news to share with you, and we really do. I wrote a note. I want to tell you back around Thanksgiving, because I was thinking about things I was thankful for, and I wrote a note to my team, and I said, I think in my entire professional career, I have the best team right now that I've ever gotten to be a part of. And I'm really thankful for that and appreciative of it. And so we do have a great team, big team, large team, however you might define it, working here at Pikes Peak Community College together. And that we have a really fantastic team doing really great work is certainly borne out by our numbers. It's hard to make the argument that you're a highly effective, fantastic team of people working together if your numbers don't support that. Our numbers do support that, and thanks to Courtney, I'm going to start with a little bit about our foundation. So this is a pretty remarkable graph, and I want to just go over it for a minute to make sure everybody gets it. Over a 25-year span, we raised about $5 million in non-endowment contributions. Over the last 3 years, we raised the same $5 million in no non-endowment contributions. Just for the record, just so folks know, we're looked specifically at non-endowment contributions because every now and then we have an endowment contribution, which usually comes in the form of a bequest, money being left to us in a will. In the past, those have not been things that we've really worked on. They've just been gifts that fell out of the sky for us. And so we wanted to focus in this graph really on what we're working on. That is changing. We have right now an active campaign to try to work on building endowments and having a steady stream of people who are remembering Pikes Peak and our mission in their wills. But this story too is about a really fantastic foundation team. Lisa, James, Teresa, Dennis, Scott, Danielle, thank you all for the work you're doing there. But more importantly, I also want to say, or equally importantly, that this is the work of the whole college. When we go out and talk to potential donors, and they're seeing, feeling, experiencing the impact of Pikes Peak Community College in their community, it's much easier to make the ask for them to support our college. And so across the entire institution, I think we're doing a tremendous job of impacting communities, of providing the workforce that's needed, of being visible, present player in our community in a way that maybe we haven't done in the past. And because we're doing that, people are willing to support us. So the results are clear and quite remarkable that we've done in 3 years what we did in the past 25 years combined. And the foundation has been very thoughtful about student success. And one of the things that we've really encouraged and worked at here at Pikes Peak, and something that I'm really proud of, is that I think we've got a student success lens on everything that we're doing. So one of the things that the foundation did is looked at what works for students and what helps students stay in school. And we began to realize that we were doing a couple of things that probably were not helpful. One is giving away relatively small scholarship gifts, and the other was giving away scholarships but not following up with additional support. And so we've changed both of those policies. Lisa James brought this forward. I enthusiastically supported it because I could see the wisdom of it immediately. So what we're doing now is we have minimum scholarship sizes of $1,000. And once a student starts to receive a scholarship, most of those scholarships stay with students until they graduate. And so rather than giving them a boost in one semester or 1 year, we're giving them a boost all the way to the graduation line. And as a result, we moved from 84% retention rate with our scholarship receiving students to 90% retention rate with our scholarship receiving students. So thank you to our foundation and to all of you for the work that's helping to make that happen. So more on our numbers. Unfortunately, we updated these numbers yesterday. They're even better today, but I'll get to that in a minute. actually 6 years, I think, we saw declines in enrollment coming out of the recession with the recovery. I am no longer the president who has presided over, years of decline in enrollment. For years, I stood up here and said, well, our peak enrollment of all time was my first year here at Pikes Peak, and it's been downhill since. We're on the upswing of that. I do want you to know I've done some analysis on this. So look back at some enrollment figures for the whole community college system. There was one college who lost less enrollment than us during that period. That was Community College of Aurora. They did that through some really aggressive marketing and work in concurrent enrollment, signing on some new high schools in really big ways. Other than the Community College of Aurora, we lost less enrollment during that period than any of the other institutions, and we are on the upswing. So we projected this year to be down 1.5%. We were up 1.8% for fall this morning. Thank you, Flynn, for the early morning updates. We were up 4.9% for spring semester as of this morning, with school starting in just a few days. Very important to us, as you all know, for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're serving our access mission, and more people are coming to Pikes Peak, and we're having a bigger impact on our community. And number two, of course, is that the business of operating the college means that enrollment is really important to our financial picture. And given that we projected and built a budget to be 1.5% down, and we are beating that by a large margin, we're in great shape this year. I have entertained quite a few proposals for new positions, and we will be investing in more people to help our institution continue to be more successful. In particular, probably about 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, got together with the deans and heard proposals from them. So as you all might recall, we added 10 new full-time faculty positions this year, and we'll be looking at additional positions for next year, because we know that investing in faculty and academic support, that's our core mission, and we'll continue to invest there. So enrollment's doing great. What about retention? This graph is one bar short, but if you look back one more year to the fall of 2010 to 2011, we would be seeing 7 consecutive years of retention growth, which is really quite remarkable. Again, I've done a lot of studying of other institutions and looking at the trends, and what you typically see is retention goes up, retention goes down, retention goes up, retention goes down, and people don't really know why if you ask them. To get 7 consecutive years of retention growth, and by the way, we did this moving from one of the worst performers in the system to what I believe, we don't have the data yet, so this is just our calculated data for retained fall of 2017. We'll get the official data in a few months, but I think we might be the best in at least among the urban colleges in Colorado. So moving from, I'm just going to call it, because I like the way it sounds, from worst to first. And we did that serving 28% of our students receiving military benefits. And lots of institutions could look at that and say, well, that's an excuse. That's why we're not doing so great. But we did that in spite of the 28% military students, who are often transient and challenging for us to hang on to. And this has been driven by a whole host of different programs, some of which I'll run through in a few minutes. And I think we've got a lot of things going on that are going to continue us on this trend. So graduation numbers I want to hit really quickly too. If retention is working, then what we ought to be seeing is better outcomes with graduation and more students completing. And indeed we are. We increased graduation numbers by 60.1% over the last 5 years. That's amazing. Just last year, we increased by 35.2%. Last year, we awarded 3,713 degrees and certificates to people who either transferred on or went out and began working in our community. And for the 4th out of the last 5 years, we set a record number of graduates. And here's what I really want to make sure that you know about that from me. This is one of my favorite days. I do love graduation day, and the joy that is part of graduation day is just infectious, and I love being there. One of the things that I've done for many years is talk to students at graduation day and say, how did you get here? What was key to your being on this stage today? What made the difference for you to be able to graduate because so many people don't? Well, here's what I can tell you. After doing this for this will be my 12th year of graduations this year. After doing this for so many years, I have yet to have a student say, it was the outstanding leader of the president of the college. Nobody ever says that. Nobody ever points out a vice president of the college either. Sorry, vice presidents, they don't. Nobody ever points out efficient purchasing systems. Sorry, Rocky, but we do a great job with that, but they don't. Every single time, the story is almost always the same. Often with tears in their eyes, they will say a person. They'll name a person. This person took an interest in me. This person believed in me. This person wouldn't let me quit. This person encouraged me when nobody else had ever done that. And any of us can be part of that student's story. Mostly, students talk about faculty members who took an interest in them, who encouraged them, who were the first people to ever say to them, you can do this, don't give up, you can make it. But they also often mention staff members. And what I want you to know is that any of us, by reaching out to students, by making connections, any of us can be part of that student story. Is Andrew Wynn in the audience? Andrew's probably out busy setting something up. Andrew, if you're new to Pikes Peak Community College, is a custodian here at the Centennial campus. I 100% guarantee you Andrew has been part of student stories about why they finished. I know that because he looks for opportunities to connect with people and he looks for ways to help people. And I've heard from students about that. And so that extra few minutes, that extra effort, that extra encouragement, often we don't know the impact of that. It can be for us a relatively small gesture. Sometimes for a student, it can be the thing that saves them, the thing that keeps them from walking out the door that day and never coming back. So I encourage you to continue to be part of the stories of the students who walk across the stage on graduation day. Be one of those people that when you say, why did you make it here? How did you make it here? You're one of the people that they're thinking about. And we can do that, again, with just the smallest gestures of showing that we care, of encouragement, of telling people, you can do this, you can make it, what can I do to help you? And you are doing that. This is absolutely amazing graduation data. And I have one more piece on this for you. Probably the number one favorite excuse of community colleges around the country for why their success numbers aren't any better than they are is we serve large numbers of low-income, first-generation students. You know, we're so challenged by the students that we serve, we just can't do it. Well, folks, do you know, I just found this out. I was amazed by this. Pikes Peak Community College has the highest percentage of Pell recipient students among any of the urban colleges in Colorado. The highest percentage. And we're sitting back there with the one of the fastest growth rates of graduation, the highest retention numbers, and serving the neediest population of students. And so to you all, for the work that you've done to help these students be successful, change the trajectory of their lives and be successful in their endeavor here going to college, I just say really sincere, warm thank you. Thank you for what you've done for these students. Anybody here know this? Did anybody know that we had the highest percentage of Pell recipient students? I started looking through the Community College System Fact Book, and if you haven't taken a look at it, I encourage you to. It's out online at the Community College System website. I started cranking through that, and they don't actually give this data. I had to calculate it. I did the math faculty, you'll be very proud of me. I did the ratio of the Pell numbers to head count and came up with these numbers. It's not a number that the system actually calculates and puts out there. But when I started to see in those numbers, I thought, wow, our Pell numbers are really high relative to our sister institutions, and they have been for years. Started doing the calculations. Turns out that Pueblo Community College and Otero Junior College have slightly higher, maybe 1% higher Pell recipient rates than Pikes Peak, and then there we are leading the pack among all of the urbans. So what a great job we're doing, serving our institution, serving our students, making a difference, making sure that students succeed here. And I tell the story about graduation because although I'm the person that gets to stand on the stage and present these numbers, you're the people who do that. And so I'm taking no credit. I'm just saying thank you and recognizing the contribution. Some of the things that we're doing to continue this trajectory, I think we have the potential for this line around student retention and graduation to go up even more sharply in the coming years, because we've made some innovations that I think are going to be real game changers for us. And the first one I want to recognize is the Learning Commons. And Patrice Whitley, Andy Scott, Carol Olds, all of the team that's working in the Learning Commons, you guys are doing fantastic work. If you don't believe that, if you don't know about this, just walk into the Learning Commons anytime during this semester and think about what it looks like versus what our old library looks like. The amount of energy in that space, the amount of students in that space, the amount of tutoring and learning that's going on in that space. And again, great teams that are doing great work ought to be backed up by some good numbers, and boy, are they. I'm just going to focus on one. There's a lot of stories I could tell you here, but in 2015, we logged 14,267 hours. I'm pretty sure I stood on this stage and bragged about that number and said what a great job we were doing with tutoring, that it was up that year, and it was. This year, that was fall semester of this year, we logged 26,000 hours of tutoring in the Learning Commons. And you betcha tutoring is connected to student success and retention and graduation. This is a 183% increase in 2 years in the number of tutoring hours logged. What a fantastic job this team is doing. You know, that they took kind of this clean slate of this new Learning Commons space, and they created form and shape to this. They gave it purpose. They figured out ways to make it work. The Learning Commons app, which was developed by the IT department here and is remarkably innovative, is a big part of this as well. Boy, we're just really kicking it in the Learning Commons. If you're not sending students to the Learning Commons, you should be, and because real help is there, and the energy and learning in that space is just fantastic. So thank you to that team. High impact practices, I expect, will also have a significant impact on us in the coming years. This past fall semester, we had 67 sections of service learning classes, and those were designated as service learning in our catalogs, and students could look for those. And something is happening that's quite remarkable in these classes. We heard yesterday from George Q that service learning classes and high-impact learning practices impact first-generation, underrepresented students more than other students. And that was really interesting that he put up some graphs and data that showed that. Because guess what? We're seeing the same thing. In fact, when we look back at service learning classes, and I don't know if Carol Jones Morrison is here, but Carol, thank you for being the number cruncher for that and gathering the data. What we saw was quite remarkable. With the number of students in the 300s of African American students that were in service learning classes, we saw a 16% increase in their pass rates versus non-service learning classes for the same instructors. Same instructors teaching a service learning class versus a non-service learning class. We saw a 16% increase in pass rates for our African American students. That was really amazing. If there was one thing that I could do today that I would feel like I've been really successful, and George Q had been really successful, and PDW had been really successful, it would be that more faculty members would want to participate in this. And so to whet your appetite for that just a bit, I'm going to share with you a few stories of what we do in service learning. People may think, and it's possible doesn't seem likely, but it's possible I could even be guilty of this. People may think that service learning means that we had a class that went out one day after class and picked up trash along the highway. That is not what service learning classes are doing. They're doing meaningful, impactful work that allows students to put what they're learning to work in real service to other people. And I think that that's the difference for first generation, low income, underrepresented students, that they feel the empowerment of being able to have an impact on another person's life, on another life, and how great that feels, and that they have the power to do that. And for some students, that might be the first time that they felt that positive power to have an impact in another's life. So here's what some of the folks are doing. Somebody asked yesterday, what's some examples of service learning? That was asked at George Q's presentation. So I'm going to share a few. I hope this is okay with the faculty members. They were pre-asked, so I'm going to name names here because I would like people to go and talk to these folks if they would want more information. Gina Swanson from Sociology says that students in her class worked with the Ronald McDonald House and Lutheran Family Services Refugee Assistance Program. Students also wrote letters of advocacy on veterans' health care, proposed Medicaid funding cuts, and anti-fracking. She said, I've literally been in tears this semester with the heart my students have put into their projects. I think the fact that they pick an option that means something to them personally is so important. I can't tell you how many have told me the experience was life-changing or career-affirming for them. The vast majority of students reported a change in their thinking and actions. Students were particularly pleased to apply the theories they were learning to real life. Thank you, Gina. Katie Purrier from Communications says that Pikes Peak Community College communication students have partnered with the Boys and Girls Club for more than 2 years, volunteering at the club and at the clubs and hosting events like the Thanksgiving dinner for club students and parents. Pikes Peak Community College Service Learning, through a generous donation from El Pomar, established an incentive scholarship for the Boys and Girls Clubs to attend Pikes Peak upon their graduation from high school. Students involved with Boys and Girls Club, Katie, thank you. One of the things I really like about the examples I'm giving you is the range of courses and programs that are involved. And this one is from Amy Filipiak in Geography and involves the Mill Street Project collaboration with the Council of Neighborhood Organizations, the City of Colorado Springs, the Independence Center, Springs Rescue Mission, and many other local organizations and stakeholders. Within this larger framework, Pikes Peak Community College students took part in the exploration of need and opportunities for community building, looking specifically at social, political, economic, environmental, cultural, and historical factors. The multifaceted lens provides students an understanding of geography, community, and diversity in a hands-on project that exists right in their backyard, a project they'll be able to watch unfold over the coming years. So the Mill Street area, by the way, if you don't know, is just south of downtown, out bordered by Las Vegas, Cascade on one side, Vermejo on the other, and is a very challenged, low-income neighborhood that has been overlooked for many years. And so we've got groups of students from geography working in that area to help that neighborhood. Fantastic. Thank you, Amy. And my last one comes from Cheryl Ray. She's an adjunct faculty in English, and I love this project. So it's simple, powerful, impactful. Students research socioeconomic conditions of senior citizens in the United States. They're astonished to find out the isolation and poverty that many seniors live in. Then the students interview an elderly person and write the person's biography. The students make meaningful connections with their senior partners through this process and develop compassion for another generation. All of the class compiles a book of these memoirs and delivers them to the seniors as a gift. This project is life-altering for the students and seniors alike. So, Cheryl, thank you. So, if you thought we were picking up trash alongside the highway, we're not. This is the kind of thing that service learning classes are doing. If you're interested in being engaged and involved in this, I think every discipline on campus has the potential to be involved in it, and I would encourage you to do this because I think the impact on our students to be able to be empowered to help other people and make a difference that they can see in the world is really quite remarkable. So to our high impact practice leaders, coaches, faculty involved, also a warm thank you. All right, another slide on service learning. We have a Hispanic Advisory Council that's been meeting at the college, and I wanted to make you all aware of this. If anybody would like to be engaged and involved with this, we need and are always looking for more participants. But we recruited a group of people from the community to help us understand and really be more effective at recruiting Hispanic students. We're doing a great job. I think over the last few years, 3 years maybe, we're up about 9% in our service to Hispanic students. But if I look out at our community, we're not maybe where we ought to be. District 11, for example, our largest district, is over 30% Hispanic students now. I think a very reasonable goal, and goal that we can achieve at Pikes Peak, is to become a Hispanic serving institution, which means 25% of our students are Hispanic. If you just look at our school districts, District 2, District 11, some of our largest feeders, District Widefield, I think there are 8, they're all over 30% Hispanic students. And so if we're serving our community well, our numbers should reflect those kinds of numbers. And I'm really pleased with the group that we've had engaged from the community. We'd also love to have more people from the college engaged in that. If you're interested in that, please let me know, let Homer Wesley know, let Keith Barnes know. There's some of the folks that are helping to lead that effort. A lot of new programs and new things going on at Pikes Peak, and I want to start with our brand newly approved bachelor's degree and recognize Rob Hudson, Chuck Moore, leadership of faculty from Fire Science, Criminal Justice, Police Academy, and Emergency Management Services. They did an enormous lift to get this program up and developed and approved, and we recently had the Higher Learning Commission here. We got a glowing report on this program. One of the things that they were most enthusiastic about was our partnership with organizations in our community. So the first responder organizations from all across the Pikes Peak region, boy, they really showed up for the HLC visit and spoke so strongly about how much they cared about the partnership with Pikes Peak and what this bachelor's degree means to them. In case you're wondering about this, we have, I think we're going to have really strong enrollment for this program. I think we have a built-in, ready cohort ready to go. The chiefs of police and fire departments and others that came together to speak to this program talked about the number of workers they have in their organizations who have less than a 4-year degree, many with 2-year degrees. And in order for them to move up in their organization, they need a bachelor's degree. The closest bachelor's degree program like this one is in Oklahoma City. So I think that we're going to have a big impact, not only on the Pikes Peak region, but maybe on the whole state with this program as people look to move up in these first responder organizations, police and fire and EMS. And this is the right degree for them to have. So a great job on getting this program developed and approved by our team here. Really want to thank Rob Hudson and all of his team. Huge lift. One more thing about the bachelor's degree, just to say, I think that we will develop additional bachelor's degrees. We will be asking for legislative authority in the upcoming session that's just started or just about to start for legislative authority to do a bachelor's degree in nursing. I think that there will be other bachelor's degrees that come along. People have asked me, how did you decide on this one? And there were 2 key factors. One, there was clearly a workforce need. And number 2, we had faculty that really wanted to do it. They wanted to go after it. And so as we look forward, if you're interested in a bachelor degree in your area, those are the criteria that I think are most important, that there be a workforce need and that we have faculty that want to go after it. And they did an amazing job. As we add bachelor's degrees to Pikes Peak, I also want to just assure you that we will remain absolutely committed to the 2-year mission that we have. And that is critical work for us as well. So we'll expand the educational offerings that we have, but we certainly will continue to honor and uphold our 2-year mission as a community college. And with that, another new program that I think the common theme of all of these is they are super well aligned with meeting workforce needs out in our community. We know in the Pikes Peak region, I think there's over 1,400 cybersecurity job openings. Average pay is around $60,000. This one went exactly the way that we would like to do things oftentimes, especially with high-tech programs like this. We started on the non-credit side with just certification programs that were not designed for college credit. We learned how to do some things. We got a little better at them, and then we kind of pitched them over the fence, and so now they're operating on the for-credit side as an associate degree as well. And so in order to support the new applied science degree in cybersecurity, we are developing a cyber lab here at the Centennial campus. We refurbished the cyber lab up at the Rampart campus, and we're adding a cyber lab at the Catalyst campus. How many folks have heard about the Catalyst campus? Yeah, some of you are going, what are you talking about? Am I teaching at the Catalyst campus this year? The Catalyst campus does not belong to Pikes Peak. The Catalyst campus is a super high-tech operation over on the east side of downtown Colorado Springs. It's in an old depot that was taken over by Braxton Technologies. And so a lot of military contractors, satellite control system groups, and cybersecurity companies operate out of the Catalyst campus. We thought, wouldn't it be fantastic for our students to be able to work alongside and rub shoulders with people who are top professionals in this industry? And so that's why we'll be operating a cyber lab and teaching courses at the Catalyst campus as well. Certified Dietary Manager, recognize Andrea Ulrich did a fantastic job with this program. And again, responding to workforce needs. So something changed in the world, and that is that Medicare and Medicaid requires now for long-term care facilities, hospitals, other institutions that they do reimbursements to, that they have certified dietary managers. Andrea was on top of this, saw it coming, got our program out there and approved. And look at this. With this certificate, average national salary over $50,000, and we think there's going to be a tremendous demand from people already working in the industry, very similar to our bachelor's degree, who need to come back and get this certification to continue working in the industry. So really pleased with this work, and congratulations to Andrea. Once again, Pikes Peak being very responsive to workforce needs out in our community. We have a tremendous shortage right now of paramedics and first responders. The hospital systems were really concerned about this, started talking about developing their own programs and what are we going to do to meet this need. And so we've responded to a lot of that pressure by coming up with an accelerated program that allows a paramedic to finish the program in as little as 6 months. It's exactly what our Colorado Springs Fire Department said that they needed. And with just a few months of notice, Kim Johnson, Chris Johnson and Kim Witten from our EMS department put this program together and have it up and running. We'll be starting our first cohort of the accelerated program here in January. And a little bragging on this program, 100% exam pass rates for our paramedics since 2010, 95% job placement, and 70% of students who start the program complete it. It's a great job from our EMS program, and thanks to you all for your involvement. Oh, I should have also said Eve Katowski, who's been just amazing in this program. I always like being at meetings with Eve because she's a flight certified paramedic EMT. I figure if I fall out of my chair on the floor, I've got the right person there to come and scoop me up. So Eve, thank you. And a little look to the future for us. So number one, I want to touch on our focus goals. Remember, kind of going back to how do we keep that momentum in retention rates and graduation numbers and student success. I think these focus goals are going to be a key critical part of that. All 4 goals were really built to support continued increases in our retention rate. And so really quickly, I'll run through what they are. Focus goal number 1 is ensuring that every student has clear semester by semester plan to get them from where they start with us the day they walk in and interact with us for the first time to the graduation stage. If they can look at a piece of paper and know exactly what they have to do each semester, I would call that a well-lit path from where they start to graduation. This effort is being led by Lincoln Wolf and Wayne Artis. They're doing a fantastic job. Thanks to you both. Focus goal number 2 is using data to identify the most impactful practices all faculty instructors can implement to help retain students. So what we know is that some faculty members have much more impact on students than others. And so if we could look at what are the things that faculty are doing in classes that have the greatest positive impact on students, and some of them may be sort of accidental discoveries, some may be coming from tremendous amount of research and effort on the faculty's part, but are there a few things that we should be doing in every class at Pikes Peak that would support greater student retention and greater student engagement in the classroom? We're trying to identify what some of those practices are and create best practices that might be applicable to every classroom or almost every classroom. Goal number 3 is aligning math pathways with state requirements. Here's the backstory on this. I realize the words up there might not be super compelling, but this is really important. If you look right now at Pikes Peak Community College and the math courses that students take, 75% of our students in college level math are taking college algebra, about 25% are in all the other math classes. We have about a 55% pass rate for college algebra. Many of those students could be taking Math 120, which has about a 68% pass rate. College algebra is the right class to take if you're in a STEM field and you're going on to be taking calculus or other high-level mathematics. If you're not, the right math class is probably Math 120, quantitative literacy, or Math 135, which is statistics. If you look at our catalog, one of the things that's super frustrating for students and for me after I was made more aware of it is that for many degree programs, it simply lists math requirement, lists all of our math classes and says, take any of these. Take Math 120, take Math 121, take Math 135. What I think our catalog should say and our advising should be is Math 120 or above. Just very simply, not to have that confusion of which math class do I have to take, Math 120 or above. Joe Southcott is leading this project. One of the things I've learned about Joe Southcott is that if he has mission and a goal, you better just get out of the way. I'm out of his way. Joe, come on through. We're going to make this thing happen. And our goal is to get this changed and get the catalog cleaned up and improve our advising by the time that we're doing fall registration for 2018. And that's going to be changes in advising. One of the things that I want you to know is that most of the universities, or all the universities, public institutions in Colorado, they've changed their requirements as well. So most of them for liberal arts areas, for example, for humanities areas, they're only requiring Math 120. That's what they're suggesting students come in with. And so we just need to make that alignment, and I think it'll help a lot more of our students be successful. And finally, goal number 4, which might be the most challenging of these because it's a little bit fuzzy, is about creating a sense of belonging with our stakeholders. That's both faculty, staff, and students. We want people to feel like they belong here. We want people to feel ownership here. And most of all, we want people to feel an expectation of their success here, that we're setting them up to be successful. So this project is being led by Carlos Perez, Hannah McNay, and Regina Lewis, and they're doing a great job of trying to wrestle this to the ground and figure out what this actually means in terms of tactical things that we'll do and change and will have an impact. So also future looking, well, a little look back before we get to more future looking. We've completed some major capital projects here. It sort of feels like that especially the Centennial campus, but all of our campuses really, have been under construction and in a mess for years. Especially true here. You know, we had the library and the atrium for years, and we did this enormous project on the first floor and the big Learning Commons project, which I think has turned out clearly to be a great investment based on student usage. And these are finally done. So Marie Walsh Sharp downtown, Learning Commons, North Side drop-off, done, and we are maybe a little bit sort of between major capital projects. I think at least for this semester and a little beyond, we'll be taking a deep breath and then looking at what's coming next from our just completed master facility plan. But smaller things upcoming, the Catalyst campus, and you will see hopefully some significant improvements in signage and wayfinding to help our students. We hear so much from students at the beginning of school, and look for them next week. They'll be here, really struggling to find their way around. And the best thing I like about that, the bad thing about putting up great signage is I love engaging with people who are lost and having a chance to meet people and show how smart I am that I can find a classroom in most cases. So anyway, continue to look for people to help, and you'll see that we're making some improvements there. Before I hit the facility master plan, just want to talk about I always put reserves up. In addition to all of the other metrics of how the college is doing, we're also doing great financially. And so this past year, we did drop our reserves a little bit from $40 million to about $38.5 million. We paid off most of the bills on the big construction projects, multi-million-dollar construction projects that we've been doing last year. That's why the drop in reserves. I don't expect that drop to continue, especially not with the uptick that we've seen in our enrollment this year. So just a reminder that looking at this, we could just sort of round this off to about $40 million. What that would mean is that we like to hold a 25% reserve at the college. We think that's a responsible thing to do. Remember the fires, remember the floods, all the different challenges that can come our way. So try to maintain about a 25% or $20 million reserve. And at the same time, that means that we have about $20 million to invest right now in continued upgrading of our facilities. So what might that be? Well, we've just finished our 2017 Master Facilities Plan. We had a lot of involvement with this. We did surveys of faculty, staff, and students. We did focus groups with faculty, staff, and students. We did specific meetings with student government and with others on campus to find out about their needs. We have an upcoming report out on this, but before we get to that, I want to tell you about 3 main recommendations and hopefully whet your appetite to come to the report outs. They're coming up at the end of this month. So downtown Studio Campus, you won't be surprised that since we took the student commons away from students with the construction of the Marie Walsh Sharp Creative Commons, we really need to do something there. And certainly the student commons that was at the downtown campus was far from ideal. All that was really missing was a broken down pool table, and it would have looked like anybody's awful basement. So I'm glad that space is gone. It didn't serve well, and it's beautiful space now, and we need to do something to create space for students to hang out, for public meetings, and for tutoring. And so we will be doing that downtown. You'll see in the plan that we call for the construction of a student commons that will sort of sit between the north and south building where the breezeway is and go out to the west from there. I expect more of that when I get downtown. At the Rampart campus, the challenge that we have is we have a lot of, and when I say a lot, probably around a dozen healthcare programs that if we had the right space, we could start up today, we could have strong enrollment in those healthcare programs, and we could be putting people to work. Our healthcare providers are really clamoring for surge techs and physical therapy techs and respiratory techs and all these types of jobs. A list of about a dozen of those we could put out there, that if we had the right space, we could create those programs and put students into really good jobs. And in a lot of ways, we have a ready-made student body for those, because right now, I think we're taking about 10% of the people that apply to our nursing program into the nursing program. And a lot of people get focused on nursing because they know nursing, and it's one of the most well-known professions in the world. But if they saw the options for other things in allied healthcare that may be paid as well or almost as well, and many of these jobs have much more sort of civilized hours. They have 8 to 5 hours versus the 24-hour work that nurses do. And guess what? New nurses usually get the 3 a.m. shifts. So we think that there's a big opportunity to expand our physical facility at Rampart to do more healthcare programs. And finally, here at the Centennial campus, already we're working off campus in leased space right now to run our construction program. We have not nearly enough space for 3D printing and CAD and machining and welding. In fact, some of those areas maybe would be legitimately described as having unsafe space, because there's simply not enough open space around the machines for students to move and be safe with that. So what we'd like to do is construct a building here at the Centennial campus that will allow us to move the physical plant out of the B building, reclaim that for academic work, and put the physical plant and new CTE programs or those CTE programs into a new building here. We've got a good site for that. We've had a program plan that we've looked at off and on over the years. So I think that that's possible. We haven't really developed out our strategy for how to get all these done. But my gut on this is that we're probably not going to move sequentially, spend 3 years doing one project and then 3 more years doing another project and 3 more years doing another. I just don't think we can move that slowly. And so I think to serve our community well, to serve students well, to serve our workforce mission well, you'll see us move pretty quickly to see if we can find some ways to make these projects happen simultaneously, concurrently, and run them and get them done in a financially responsible way, and maybe within the next 5 years or so have these projects done and complete. In the meantime, we'll also be looking at some bridge options. So things like we're doing now, many of you may not know, but we operate diesel mechanics at a Goodwill facility. We operate construction in a leased light manufacturing facility. We operate welding in a manufacturing facility. We may have to do more of that over the next few years, but we also really need to move to catch our physical plan up to the workforce needs in our community. So look for some action there. And if you want to know more about this, Michelle Koster, of course. If you would like to know more about this, we'll have it'll be at the same time the last chance for you to offer comments and inputs, and your first chance to really see what these proposals are going to look like. These are coming up. I've asked for public meetings from Hall and Associates, who is the consulting group that has been doing all of this work. They'll be holding public meetings on January 29th, 30th, and 31st at the Centennial Downtown and Rampart campuses. We'll get an email out to the whole college. I invite you to please come and participate in those and hear about what we're doing. All right. Well, we have on the physical plant piece, a new resident as well. If you haven't seen this is quite the sculpture here. It's titled Breathe, and it is 11 foot tall, 800 pound. How did they describe this? I don't remember. Luminescent statue, and it is now right outside our downtown studio campus. One thing I'd like for you to know about this is this was done with donations to the foundation, and the moving and crane work was all donated by Nunn Construction. They came and made that happen for us, and so this beautiful gift to Pikes Peak to inspire our students and beautify the campus downtown is in place. And really, the time to see this thing is at night. It's quite beautiful, but anytime if you have a chance to come by, it's right on the west side of the campus, close to the intersection of Sierra Madre and Kiowa. And we've got this beautiful signage down there as well on the outside of the building now, so that people zooming off the interstate and coming by can see that this is Pikes Peak Community College. And for years, I've been amazed at how many people don't know that that building is our campus. They will know now. We're going to be hard to miss. Accreditation work, just want to mention we had 2 visits this past fall. You know, I'm a little suspicious that folks from HLC just like to come to Colorado and hang out, and so not sure. But the visits went great. The visits came not because of any trouble or anything we were doing wrong. The first one was the bachelor's degree visit. We are now a bachelor's approved institution. If we add additional bachelor's degrees, we don't have to have HLC come back and approve all of those. This visit was not only about the BAS and emergency management services, but it was for any future bachelor's degrees as well. We're now just a bachelor's granting institution, and that visit, we got a glowing report from it. And we also had a multi-location visit, and these are designed to look at not the main campuses, but what are you doing out at your satellite places, and to ensure that we're maintaining quality at those places. So they came to the downtown studio campus, to Wasson Learning Center, the old Wasson High School where we operate, and also out to Aspen Valley Ranch, which is out in Woodland Park where we do some of our outdoor leadership programs. And again, a glowing report for the college that came out of that. So really pleased with HLC's affirmation of the great job that Pikes Peak is doing. And a reminder that coming up in July 29th of 2019, we have an assurance review. So we have to update our self-study, and that is going on right now. Patricia Diawara and her team are working on that. If you're asked to help out with that, I would say please do it. July 29th, 2019 sounds like a long time. It's not. It'll be here before we know it. And I know we're in great shape with it, but we also have quite a bit of work to make sure that we have every I dotted and T crossed for that visit. So, Patricia, thanks for your leadership on that if you're out there. Assessment, I think we're doing a great job here. Departments across the whole college have really come together doing good work. Our coaches, thank you to our coaches for your work on this. Just want to mention our focus will continue to be course-embedded, performance-based signature assignments, meaning every section of a course taught has the same signature assignment with the same grading rubric. That's really important. What we don't want is sort of standalone off only for assessment purposes assignments. That is no longer acceptable, I think, in the assessment world. And of course, the end of this is closing the loop, finding some takeaway information from doing those assessments that can help you improve student outcomes in your classes. I would say across the board, we have made enormous improvements on the closing the loop piece of this over the last few years, and let's continue, please. Really appreciate the work that's gone into this. And again, our coaches are just doing a great job, so thank you all. Did you guys know we're almost 50 years old? So in fall of 1968, we started as El Paso County Community College in an old Safeway grocery store down off of Highway 24 on sort of the west side of town. I always like to mention when I tell this part of the story that we had a couple of very illustrious alumni. Oh, do we have an alumni from El Paso County Community College? Oh. Fantastic, thank you. We had two really illustrious faculty members at El Paso County Community College. Our current mayor, Mayor Southers, taught at El Paso County Community College, and so did Bill Hibble, who is the head of El Pomar, part of the United States Olympic Committee, and a very, very proud former professor for Pikes Peak. Oh, how did that happen? Anyway, we're 50 years in and a lot of celebration planned, because what a great story for Pikes Peak and the impact that we've had on our community. And we want to tell that story well and, of course, capitalize on the opportunity. So student activities plan, major donor celebration, exhibition at Pioneer Museum, and we'll be doing videos and timelines and perhaps a book about our history to celebrate our 50th. I want to recognize our employees of the year. We did this at our Christmas celebration, but would like to acknowledge them again for their innovation, for their hard work, for the difference that they make at Pikes Peak. The thing that I most want you to know about employees of the year is they're voted on by their peers. So this is peer recognition. This is not administrator-chosen people. And the fact that they're recognized by their peers, I think, just says so much about the work that they're doing to help people across the institution be successful in their roles. Pam Stratton, Classified Employee of the Year. Chelsea Harris, APT Employee of the Year. Dorothy Williams is our Adjunct Instructor of the Year. And Emily Foran, our Faculty of the Year. Thanks to you all. And lastly, I want to finish with a section called Caring for the Whole Student, because I think we've made some remarkable strides at our college in this area. And I think this piece of what we're doing will also show up in coming years in retention and graduation and students being able to get to the finish line with us. Food giveaways have been just amazing. So this started maybe 18 months ago or so. I got this report from, it's called the Wisconsin Hope Lab, and it's out of the University of Wisconsin. And I'm reading this report, and I'm a little stunned by what it says, and frankly a bit incredulous. It says that 2/3 of community college students experience food insecurity while they're attending school, and a third of them experience housing insecurity. And I thought, wow, if that's even close to right, we're not doing enough to help our students and to help them stay on track. I wonder if there's something we could do. I invited Care and Share to campus, the leadership of Care and Share, and I gathered together some faculty members that I thought might be interested in this. And I just kind of made introductions, and they started talking, and they just took off. And boy, did they take off. In September, we had our first food giveaway, and we gave away 4,500 pounds. They brought 4,500 pounds of food to campus, and I thought, oh my goodness, that's a lot of food. I went out to see what was happening. We were doing it, because of course it was warm then, and we were doing it down outside in the parking lot on the west edge of the Child Development Center. And I came out of my office and came down, and I saw a line of people, and it went over a grassy knoll and down a hill and across the parking lot to this food giveaway. And it took us less than an hour for 4,500 pounds of food to disappear there. And people had the unenviable task of going out to folks who had stood in line and telling them, there's no more food, we're sorry. And so the next month they brought more. They brought about 10,000 pounds. About that time, I had a chance to talk to El Pomar, and I told them the story. I wasn't even asking them for money. I just told them the story, and they said, well, we want to do something. So they donated $10,000 to make sure that students before the holidays had more food to take home during the Christmas break. So in December, this culminated for fall semester with 17,000 pounds of food that we gave away in the atrium to our students. And for me, what's been stunning is, even though I'd read the statistics, to see the need, to see people lining up, to see the gratitude and the impact that this had. In fact, our HLC visitors, who didn't even come to Centennial Campus on their multi-campus visit, they heard about this from students who said what an impact this had on them. I want to talk about, in particular, two faculty members, Tico Hardy and Anne Marie Mannering, who really got this thing. Yeah. I mean, boy, they really got it. They got students involved. Our social work club students started to come and help to organize this. We've had a tremendous turnout of faculty, staff, and students who volunteered to help unload the trucks and set up tables and give the food away, which is really critical. The Red Cross is going to honor Tico Hardy and Anne Marie Mannering as hometown heroes at the Broadmoor at an upcoming gala in March. So I love this story, and I love the outpouring that's come from this campus and our faculty, staff, and students who all have come out, even board members and folks from the foundation and advisory councils and others have come out to be a part of this and to see it and experience it. And it makes a difference. That's what I've heard from students is that this makes a difference. So I'm grateful to everyone involved, especially Anne Marie and Tico. And we have more of this kind of work coming up as well. We got into a very similar situation, did introductions with the United Way, and Patrice Whitley and a group is looking at how do we train students in the 211 information system so that they could be here on campus and be sort of concierge for that system and help students with rent and childcare and military support and all sorts of things, the mental health that the 211 system does. And again, just looking for new ways to help and new ways to be open to the challenges and needs that our students have. So if you don't know the 211 system, it's you dial in 211 and you get a United Way operator who can direct you to community resources. And so we're going to try to have students trained in that system. We'll pay them as work studies, and they'll be in our learning commons and available to help students with resources available in the community. And this recognition of this need and addressing it feels really right on target to me for Pikes Peak. So really excited about what we're doing here. Maybe less exciting and sexy, but also important is EAB Navigate. So I want you to know that we're fully online with this now. We had a training with EAB yesterday. We have another one coming up on Friday afternoon. All the kinks are not out of the EAB registration piece, but I will tell you this. It's better than Banner was. It's significantly better than Banner was. So we're going with it. We're operating it. It has a couple of fundamental parts. One is a sort of a College 101 that helps students identify and determine what they want their major to be, what kind of jobs are out there, how much they pay, what kind of education it requires to get those jobs. And then it has a whole registration piece that helps students build a schedule that makes sense for them. I really love the schedule builder piece that helps students navigate their work and childcare schedules and get classes at the right time at the right campus. And so that's a part of it. And we are fully operational now, especially if you're involved with advising, for example, a faculty advisor. If you're not familiar with this tool, I'd recommend coming on Friday if you can to the training. But we also can provide trainings to divisions, departments as needed. I would ask that any request for that, if you would send those to Homer Wesley, our Vice President of Student Services, he can make sure that happens. We have a Pikes Peak Community College newspaper that's kicking butt. Sorry. Really love the work. I've been so impressed with the Pikes Peak Community College newspaper. One of the first stories out of the blocks that they dealt with was the DACA story. And it was a challenging story. There are lots of right sides to this story. There are lots of heart-tugging sides to this story. I was a little concerned. I thought, wow, how are student journalists going to handle the DACA story? I thought they did an amazing job navigating this difficult issue of the DACA story and telling what's happening there. And they've taken on lots of other challenging stories as well and just done a fantastic job. And for me, when I see students working on the student newspaper, many of them show up now, which I really love, to the Pizza with the President and ask really hard questions. But they're engaged now in service learning kind of work. They're engaged in putting to work what they're learning in their classes. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. So Teacher Schoolcraft, Warren, Epstein, thanks for your leadership with the student newspaper. And I'm going to finish up with, we were recognized this year as one of the best schools for military veterans. We were the only community college in Colorado that received this recognition. We were one of 6 schools in the whole state that received this recognition. And we're doing really wonderful work here. I had a student that I took to the state board meeting this past fall, and he was recognized as an outstanding student. And Rufino came and he told his story at the state board meeting. And Rufino was a student who immigrated to the United States undocumented as a teenager with his family. He was a field worker in California for years, and eventually he was able to get a green card and join the military. He served 21 years very honorably with the military, and he came out and he was trying to decide what to do with his life. And he ended up deciding to enroll in Pikes Peak Community College. He started in our lowest level developmental classes and everything. And this past fall, he was in calculus, and he was carrying about a 3.9 GPA. And the state board asked him about his story and how are you being so successful. And just like always, just like with me at graduation, he named a person. He named Gail Bicknell and said a lot about the work that Gail had done. And she encouraged him. She told him he could do it. She stayed with him and helped him navigate the process. So our military and veteran programs are just doing great. We have a new director there, Paul DeCecco, who's here with us today. And if you haven't been over to connect with MVP lately, I will tell you that they're just doing wonderful work for our students, and they continue to evolve the ways that we serve our military students. And so a big thank you to them and to all of our military students. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions about what's happening at the college. How are we doing on time? Maybe we got about 8 minutes or so. Yep. Yes, sir, in the back. Right. I'll repeat your question just to make sure everybody could hear. There's been a proposal to move the Switchback soccer team stadium to downtown and to build a stadium at Antlers Park, and right across the street, of course, from our campus. So we haven't taken any official position about whether we're supporting that or not. Certainly, I would have some concerns because Antlers Park is a beautiful place that has served students and Pikes Peak for many years in terms of place that art students and other classes often go out and use some of the space in Antlers Park. There's also clearly, if you know downtown well, Antlers Park has also been a challenge because it's been a gathering area for folks that are homeless, and it's a bit of a sort of a way station on the highway that runs between sort of the Marion House up on the north and Springs Rescue Mission down further south. So we don't have an official position about it. We've not been asked to weigh in with any official position about it. From what I understand, the city has been mostly fairly negative about it because they would like see that stadium built further south and west at near the corner of Cimarron and Sierra Madre, corner of Cimarron and Sierra Madre. The city in the past has been extremely unwilling to yield on giving up General Palmer donated land to any other usage. So I would be very surprised if they move forward. I would hope that we would be offered a voice in that process if it got serious and they started to move forward with it. If we were offered a voice in that process, I think we would want to put together some forums to find out what people thought about it, to gather some input, especially from our downtown faculty and students, as to what they thought about it. So that's about all the answer I have. Not an official position, but just a bit of this is the lay of the land with it. Other questions? Yes, Vicki. Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to repeat that too. Vicki pointed out that last year she fussed about the front parking lot, and rightfully so. We did a lot of work on it, and what I like about it is I think it's a lot safer. So we now have what feels like a really safe pickup and drop-off lane, which we've never had. It is remarkable given the number of people that are picked up and dropped off. So I'm so glad that project is completed, and thanks for recognizing it.
It makes the front entrance to the college now so much more appealing to students as well.
I agree. And all those broken sidewalks and such a mess out there, and it just looks great now. And Bob Rogers and team out there just did a wonderful job seeing that project through. Yes?
Can you tell me just a little bit more about your vision for the student commons downtown?
Probably not. I got nothing else beyond what I shared with you. I would say that we'll see a more detailed proposal of what that might look like, how many square feet, what kind of space it might take up from Hall and Associates at the report outs at the end of January. But other than we should build something and here's about where it should go, that's about all I got. Sorry. Really, that's the purpose, though, of these report outs. So I just hope to whet people's appetites today. I've not seen their final report even. I hope to see the final report at least by the time they're doing their public report outs, but we've not gotten it as of yesterday. Yes?
I just wanted to say, if we could pitch Rising Star, that's coming up.
Oh. Thank you so much. Vicki, right? Yeah. Our Vice President of Student Government is here, and she is reminding us that we have something important coming up, which is the Rising Star event. So every spring at a state board meeting, we recognize Rising Star students from each of the colleges across the community college system. And the student government is responsible for identifying these people, but they really need faculty help with this. And it's a big deal. If a student could put on their resume that they were a Rising Star, their opportunity to gather more scholarship money or to get better employment would be significantly impacted. So if you could take 5 minutes and suggest a student to student government, who would they send that to, Vicki? Okay, and maybe to Dawn, you could take that as well. So Alana Mitchell or Dawn Souza could take any recommendations. I think you can find them both in Outlook. And if you have a recommendation, that would be great. I also was supposed to remind you that we have probably over 1,000 students that will be applying for foundation scholarships this spring. That's an amazing increase. We used to be lucky to get 250. Those students will be asking for letters of reference. This may become unwieldy at Pikes Peak if we continue to grow the number of students that are asking for letters of reference. But if you're asked, I would ask you to please do that. It's the best way we have of trying to establish which students to give scholarships to, because although we've got $1.25 million of scholarship money to give away, with 1,000 students applying, we still can't give them all scholarships at the large scholarship numbers that we're trying to do, at the large dollar amounts, impactful dollar amounts we're trying to do. So your letters make a difference to the people who read the applications. If you're asked, I would ask you to please participate with that. All right, one more minute. One last question? Regina, softball, underhand?
I don't know if this is the appropriate place, but I know that we've done this in the past. I want to publicly congratulate Christy Callahan as one of our new associate deans.
Right on. Fantastic. Christy, are you here? Oh, richly deserved. Congratulations. That's a great high note to end on. Thank you, Regina. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful semester.